Jonathan was a poor 11-year-old miserable orphan whose parents were killed when a high-tech fighter jet bombed them. Because his combat skills far surpassed those of the adults around him, he was forced to become a child soldier. His legendary abilities earned him a reputation as a prodigy in the art of war. But deep down, Jonathan hated fighting and everyone involved in the weapons industry. Driven by a desire for revenge, this hypocritical child takes up arms and begins working as a soldier. Currently, he has just gotten his first big break to work under an arms dealer called Koko. This woman, with the complexion of special milk, drags Jonathan along as she takes him to meet the rest of her team full of weirdos. Koko gives Jonathan a gun as she tells him that there is an urgent mission on their hands, which is also going to act as his entrance test to their team. She barges into a room where her team of losers is sitting and introduces Jonathan to them. Everyone in the team is taken aback by the intense look in Jonathan's eyes, but Koko tells them to stop being such sissies. She then asks the four-eyed nerd to update Jonathan about the situation. The nerd states that a container with advanced fighter jet parts is being held at the port by some mercenaries, and the government wants Koko's team to retrieve it. Koko asks Jonathan if he can do it, and he tells her that he doesn't give a damn about the government or the container. All he wants to know is about the unlucky losers he is going to shoot. With that, Koko orders two of her trusted teammates to come as backups while she drives Jonathan herself. She gets a call from the leader of the mercenaries, who tells her that if the container falls into the hands of the government, they will most probably go to war with their neighbors, so he is not going to let that happen. Koko tells him that there is no better thing than a war for weapon dealers like her, and she cuts the call. After that, she starts making small talk with Jonathan, but he is not interested. Koko says that she has done her research and knows that Jonathan hates weapons, but he still doesn't respond because he doesn't like talking. Soon he notices some people following them and asks her how they deal with them. Koko tells him that they shoot first and kill them in one blow. Just as Jonathan hears this, he Kloshkanims out of the sunroof and begins giving the pursuers a taste of freedom, taking out their cars one by one. Koko tells him to at least give her a warning because she almost peed her pants when he suddenly started shooting. He tells her that these men were just the scouts, and the real enemy is about to come soon. The fight continues until late in the evening, and even the backup team has to face some enemies in a bulletproof van. Since their guns are not doing anything and Koko is in danger, the eye-patch chick decides to get Kloshkanos and do things the old-fashioned way with a blade. Meanwhile, Jonathan is still firing at the chasers when he suddenly warns Koko that someone is coming from their left. She moves out of the way just in time, as the armored van passes next to them. The mercenaries keep attacking, but then the backup team reaches them, and the eye-patch girl sneaks through the opening in the van to kill everyone inside. With that, Koko thinks that the pursuers are finally dealt with, but Jonathan notices that one car is still following them. A soldier comes out with a rocket launcher, but with his quick thinking, Jonathan unpins a grenade and times it so that its explosion would offset the direction of the missile. The missile hits a nearby car, and a bunny toy is tossed towards Jonathan, who is pleased to receive it. Koko tells him to stop acting like a kid now because it will take around 20 seconds for the enemy to reload. Jonathan tells her not to worry about it and starts firing again. Just as the soldier with the rocket launcher comes out, Jonathan headshots him, causing his rocket to blow up his car instead. With that, the mercenary decides to call back the rest of his troops, and Jonathan and Koko succeed in their mission. After that, Koko leads Jonathan to the shipment while saying that even though he hates guns, he has no other option but to use them to get his revenge. She tells him that if he kills her and crosses one name off his kill list, he would have to face her subordinates, and that will not be easy, so she tells him to stay loyal to her. Because as an arms dealer, she can teach him how to hang out with other players in the weapons business and help him with his revenge. In response, Jonathan simply asks her why she sells weapons, and Koko replies that it is for world peace. Later that night, Jonathan is sleeping in one corner of Koko's room when someone approaches him. Out of habit, he immediately pulls out his gun, but the man tells him to relax. He says that it is his turn to stay on watch because he is feeling sleepy now. Jonathan goes outside and joins the old smoker, Lame, on night duty. He asks the old man why a veteran like him is working under someone so young, and Lame replies that it is because this place is fun. He says that everyone here has their reasons to work for her, and she is an excellent leader as well. Just then, the door opens and Koko comes out, lurching like a zombie, and Lem tells her that the bathroom is the opposite way. Now Jonathan doesn't trust what Lame just said about her. The next day, Koko tells everyone about an emergency. Early in the morning, another weapons dealer is trying to ship some dismantled combat helicopters through the city, probably because he was inspired by their heist the other day. Koko would have no problem with that, but the issue is that headquarters has ordered her to stop the deal. She freaks out because if they fail this mission, it will mean a pay cut for her. She starts rolling on the table to vent out her nervousness, and then says that they will head out and deal with the weapons merchant. She tells the nerd and the eye-patch chick to call Valmer to talk with the Air Force officials and assigns 4 men under Lem to act as her backup. The 2 remaining people are to stay back and coordinate things, while Jonathan is going to come with her to talk to their rival. They head out, and Koko gives Jonathan a spare gun because he may need it later. She informs him that the man they are going to meet is a big-shot weapons dealer from Europe, and he is a real pain in the ass. She signals her backup team to go ahead and hunt the enemies, and they turn into a bunch of bloodthirsty hunters. In the meantime, Koko tells Jonathan that today he is not coming along as a soldier, but her younger brother, and tells him to keep playing along until she gives the signal. They soon reach the apartment of the arms dealer named Kloshkin, who welcomes them in despite knowing that Koko is his rival. He asks about Jonathan, and when he learns that he is her brother, Kloshkin asks if he is adopted. Koko starts talking business with him, while the nerd and Valmer are negotiating with a colonel to cancel the deal. Jonathan calls them to get updates in front of Kloshkin, who tells her that it is useless because she can't win against him this time. He gets up to prepare coffee, and Koko tells him that he has interfered in her turf, so he should be ready to get shot. Kloshkin gets angry upon hearing this, and slams the coffee pot on her head. Jonathan immediately pulls out his gun, but Koko stops him before he can shoot, and Kloshkin takes the gun from his hand and starts removing the bullets. He says that his snipers are watching them, and if they hurt him, Koko's head will blow up. However, that was all anticipated, and Koko winks at Jonathan to tell him that everything is going according to plan. After some time, Kloshkin tells Koko to go back, because it is time for him to watch some anime, but she calls him a degenerate who doesn't have any time left to live. She tells him to order his snipers to shoot her if he dares, and Kloshkin contacts them, only for Lem to pick up the call. Koko's backup team has wiped out all the snipers, and at the same time, the nerd has made the Air Force colonel cancel his contract with Kloshkin. The arms dealer can't believe this, and then Koko tells Jonathan to give him a ticket to the afterlife. After shooting the guy, Jonathan goes to check on Koko and finds that her wound is just superficial. She tells him not to mind it as she clings to him and says they should head back now. The next day, Koko and her team set out to meet the nerd and Valmer, who are in another city, but she can't reach them. She tries calling headquarters to solve the issue, but they can't do anything either. Koko is pissed now, and what irritates her even more is that some Border Patrol Forces cars are driving dangerously close to them. She thinks that they won't be able to do anything to them, when suddenly one of the cars blows up, and the explosion almost hits their convoy. Koko immediately heads outside to see what's wrong, and to her horror, the city they were supposed to go to has become a war zone. Liam can tell that 2 groups are fighting for control of an oil pipeline there, and hands over binoculars to Koko to check the particulars. She finds that all the cell phone towers and even satellite transmission sites have been destroyed, which is why they were not able to reach Valmer. While Koko is throwing a tantrum about it, some soldiers move around their group. However, they are not enemies but clients, and their leader, Major Pollock, apologizes to Koko for the rude actions of his men earlier. They sit down to talk business, and Koko asks the Major when the town turned into a war zone. He tells her that it happened just 8 hours ago, and that the army officer who was originally posted here ran with his tail between his legs. Just from that, Koko knows that the situation here is quite bad, and the Major is going to order a lot of weapons from her. She wants to get out of this place as soon as he signs the documents, but then another one of her rivals arrives. The fat man named Curry has come from England to deliver some anti-aircraft missiles to the army, and Koko is not happy to see his ugly mug. She doesn't want to stay next to this stinky old man, and decides to leave as soon as Pollock signs the deal with her. But he asks her to stop, because he has to order one more thing. He says that their radar got destroyed last night, and they absolutely need another. Curry says that he doesn't have access to anything that big, and Koko says that it is the same with her. She wants to leave before things turn tricky, but Curry tells her not to lie. He knows that Koko's dad was a big shot in the Navy, and her company is connected to various major suppliers. He believes that she can supply Pollock with a radar or 2, and Koko realizes that the old man is here to use them as a scapegoat. She suddenly starts dancing like an idiot for no reason while saying that she can't give him a radar. Pollock suddenly orders his soldiers to surround her, and Koko's team also gets ready to fight back. However, she tells everyone to stop because it is pointless to kill each other here when a war is being waged right next to them. She confronts Pollock, saying that she knows how ruthless he is despite looking like a nice guy. He tells her that it is a soldier's job to win wars, and as an arms dealer, it is her job to supply him with weapons. He leaves, telling Koko to get the radar ready, and the sly old fox Curry also leaves. When they are left alone, Lem asks Koko what they are going to do now, and she throws some gang signs to tell everyone about their plan. After that, she starts talking about Pollock, saying that he wants to pay for the radar after he wins the war, but she is not going to accept credit, even from her biological dad. The next day, Koko and her group are ready to leave the war-torn area, and Pollock tells her that once they cross the pass in front of them, her satellite phone will start to work again. He assigns 2 of his elite soldiers to act as her escorts, but Koko knows that they are supposed to keep her on a leash. Just 10 minutes after they start driving, one soldier starts trash-talking Koko, but she remains calm no matter how angry the soldier gets, because Jonathan is in the back seat with his gun loaded. Soon, they reach the foggy pass, and their satellite phone starts working again. Koko gives Jonathan the phone to contact the nerd, and even though it connects, the nerd doesn't pick up the call. Suddenly, 2 Russian combat helicopters fly above them, and Koko immediately tells everyone to get down. They see the helicopters shooting at someone in the distance, and an anti-aircraft missile misses them. Once the helicopters retreat, Jonathan asks her why she doesn't just sell weapons to Pollock. Koko tells him that her intuition says this war is going to end in just 2 days, without either side winning. While the Russian troops don't have enough manpower to focus on all the fronts they are currently fighting at, the Major doesn't have enough money to fund his ambition. That is why she thinks both sides are going to back down soon. While other weapon dealers would immediately supply anything Pollock needs, she is not interested in doing business in such a condition. Soon, Koko leads her group to a forest, telling the soldiers that this is where she is going to supply them with weapons. But it turns out that she had relayed her location to Valmer and Nerd already, and they were on standby. On Koko's signal, they jump down on the 2 soldiers and tie them up. At the same time, one of Curry's guards gets pissed off by the soldier escorting her and slashes him, and her partner has no choice but to shoot the other guy to save their boss. Curry curses the girl for giving in to her instincts and killing the people who were supposed to lead them out of this war zone. But then he calms down and decides to take shelter until things get a bit better. Soon, Koko's group arrives at an abandoned building, and to their surprise, it is the same one where Curry and his group are hiding. Koko makes herself comfortable in the building and playfully asks Curry what he is doing here. He tells her that the idiot with him killed the soldiers escorting them because he was a Tate fan, and now they have to run for their lives. Koko is shocked to hear this and tells him that they just tied their soldiers up and left them in the forest, but she is sure that Pollock is going to send more soldiers after them. Meanwhile, the crazy Mildo is completely unfazed by the outcome of her actions, and she goes to Valmer to challenge her to a knife fight. Valmer tries to ignore her, but then Koko orders her to keep watch outside and take Mildo with her. Once they are outside, Mildo decides to use the darkness and Valmer's limited field of view to win against her, but she gets her ass kicked. Then Valmer lectures her about how she thinks having more knives would make her better at using them. She keeps lecturing her all the way, but that doesn't faze Mildo, as Mildo asks Valmer to become her mommy girlfriend. Valmer refuses because she only gets wet for Koko. Suddenly, Mildo senses some enemy soldiers coming towards them, and immediately runs to the hideout to inform everyone. Koko's group immediately gets their weapons ready, and tells Curry that she is going to hold off the soldiers while his group escapes. But then he is going to owe her a huge favor. Curry is glad to accept that offer, but as soon as Koko and her group get outside, she orders her men to lower their weapons and take out their magazines. She surrenders to the soldiers and tells them that the people who killed their colleagues are inside, freaking Curry out. The soldiers surround the abandoned building, and a firefight ensues between them and Curry's group. The soldier in charge of the group decides to let Koko and her group go this time, and she tells everyone to run as fast as they can. Jonathan finds this amusing and starts laughing, saying that this is the first time he has gotten away from a battlefield without firing a single bullet. Soon their group reaches the airport to leave the country, and Koko sees the news that the conflict between the Russian army and Pollock's soldiers has already stopped, just as she gets her passport stamped. Curry and his guards also arrive, panting and sweating, and Koko says it's a good thing that they made it out alive. Soon they reach another country where Koko and the nerd start teaching the illiterate Jonathan everything he needs to live as a civilized human. However, his pea-sized brain only knows how to shoot his enemies, and he doesn't even care about studies. Instead, he is more interested in the pictures on Koko's tablet. She tells him that this is a list of hitmen that headquarters sends to warn them from time to time. This time they have sent information about a group called Orchestra, which contains only 2 members right now. Koko says that at its peak, Orchestra was a really badass group that could go toe-to-toe with the police force, but then most of their members died. Jonathan asks Koko if the hitmen are targeting her, and she affirms. She tells him that arms dealers make a lot of enemies, so it is expected, and she doesn't need to worry about everything because her team will protect her. She starts laughing at some inside joke with the nerd, and the rest of the crew tries to see what's so funny. Koko lectures them about snooping around, but they have no other job to do right now. Suddenly, Valmer asks Koko on a date, and she agrees. Valmer's mood worsens when Koko says they should take Jonathan as the third wheel, but then she decides to let him study some more. However, just as the girls leave, Jonathan tells the nerd that he is going to use the bathroom. Time passes, and he doesn't come out, so the nerd barges into the bathroom, only to find a thank you note from Jonathan, who has run away to the nearby city. The 2 assassins from the group called Orchestra are also searching for their next target. The veteran hitman tells the girl named Chinatsu to get rid of the ugly hat she is wearing because it is blocking her vision. However, the girl can't throw it away because it is a gift from him. Suddenly, she notices Jonathan sitting by the street, and she is immediately smitten by him. She tells her master that she saw a cute boy whom she wants to adopt, but by the time she turns around, Jonathan is gone. Meanwhile, Valmer takes Koko out shopping for watches because she knows she is interested in stuff like that. Valmer enters the store to buy one for her, and just then, the assassin named Chinatsu arrives and grabs Koko's hand, telling her that she is going to die a pitiful death today because of selling weapons. Koko already knows that the girl is from Orchestra, and she yells at her, saying that a lowly assassin doesn't get to lecture her about anything. On hearing her voice, Valmer immediately rushes outside to help Koko, but Chinatsu's mentor is also ready for action. He shoots Koko, but then Jonathan leaps out of the sky and saves her while Valmer keeps Chinatsu busy. Jonathan and Koko hide behind a corner, and Valmer hides behind a pillar as the crazy assassin keeps shooting at her. She is shocked to see Jonathan jump from the sky to interfere with their plan, and she is jealous of Koko because she wanted to keep him for herself. Behind the corner, Koko kisses Jonathan for saving her and asks, "Why did you follow me?" He replies that he has seen her smiling in dangerous situations before, and that is why he knew something was wrong when she went out smiling. In the meantime, Chinatsu takes out a mini rocket launcher to blow them away. The police arrive just then, and the crazy assassin blows up the police car first. Her mentor shoots down the remaining policemen and tells Chinatsu to keep the pressure on their target. Meanwhile, Valmer picks up a shield from a fallen policeman and heads toward Koko. She keeps shooting at the assassins and manages to injure the man's arm, which makes him angry, and he shoots back with a high-powered assault rifle that pierces through the shield and injures Valmer's leg. She falls to the ground to avoid being shot further and crawls to Koko's side. Lu Lem is also at the site, and though he has a clear shot at the veteran assassin, this imbecile decides to call for backup instead of quickly wrapping up the job. On the other side, Jonathan keeps shooting at the assassins to cover for the girls, but when he thinks that it is not working, he charges ahead like a suicidal idiot. He keeps shooting at the main assassin, and this guy, who has probably learned shooting from Stormtrooper Academy, can't hit the boy who is running in a straight line towards him. They are about to get close, when suddenly Jonathan's leg is tangled by a rope, and he gets dragged away by Lem. Chinatsu also stops her boss from shooting him, because she plans to groom Jonathan into her boy toy. Jonathan gets pulled to safety by Lem, and he kicks him for interfering with his plan. He says that he almost had the enemies, and the old guy tells him that the only thing he was going to have was a bullet through his head. He tells Jonathan that his way of fighting is naive and stupid. Because they don't fight to the death, they fight to kill their enemies in a one-sided fashion. Lem then tells Jonathan to take Koko to safety, while he keeps the enemy busy. Jonathan grabs Koko's hand and runs away, and Lem tries to fire some surprise shots at the assassins with his .45 caliber bullets. But Chinatsu has good instincts, and she blocks them with the shield. Her boss is pissed because Lem is using a silencer, and he declares that real men should make music when they use guns. Lem just laughs at him while he keeps emptying his magazines, saying that he is cracked in the head. The assassin soon runs out of ammo, and Chinatsu does the same, so they throw the shield and run away to their car, exposing their backs like idiots, but Lem doesn't bother to shoot them. The two assassins get in their car to chase after Koko, and they plan to use even more powerful guns this time. Meanwhile, Lem supports the injured Valmer as they head out, and they both agree that Chinatsu is more skilled than her boss, and if they can separate the two, they will be easier to beat. Soon after that, Koko's team also arrives, and Lem helps Valmer get into the car and asks the nerd to support him. The nerd has already located Koko on the map, so he leads Lem to her. Koko and Jonathan are running on the beach, where Jonathan complains that weapons dealers like her are the reason the assassins have access to weapons, and he can't forgive anyone involved in this business. Koko laughs because this is the first time Jonathan has put his feelings into words. And here we come to the end of part 1. If the video reaches more than 500 likes, the second part will be released soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel in appreciation of my efforts.